Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0 Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Ooh, welcome back to the 3-0 Take, presented by SeatGeek. This is episode 361. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin, and I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes. Nate.
What up, dog?
So, are we, as a league, as a sport, are we looking at the conclusion of the 2023 season? Like, are we going to have to cut this baby short because of Canada?
Dude.
Like, what is going on?
It's insane. It's insane. Like, I understand the Northeast. Now it's getting down to your area. It's getting down to the capital. Canceling games. Like, I mean, you're there. So is it that orange? Or
Well, it's not as much orange. But yesterday I had to drive into work, and I was sitting at like a stoplight, and I texted Meredith like right away, and I was like, we're definitely, like, it's hitting us now. Like, I can see it, because you just can't, like, the visibility is terrible. Like, you can't see hardly at all. It just looks like, it reminds me of like when the pollen gets really bad out here. Like, you just can't see anything. And then I get into work, and then I see the pictures of New York, and I'm like, that's apocalyptic. That doesn't look right. And then you hear about the Nationals game, and then you hear about the Phillies and the Tigers getting postponed.
Yep.
Like three, I think it's 3 games in the last 2 days, those 6 teams. But I don't I just don't know how, like, bad it is, because I keep seeing these headlines where it's like the air quality has been upgraded to hazardous, and then my mother-in-law just texted the family group chat, and they're 10 minutes away, and she was just like, yeah, it feels like we've been sitting next to a bonfire for the last 48 hours. And I'm like, this isn't good. And then you got people whining about these games not being played, and it's like, well, if it's as bad as they say it is, how can you expect these guys to go out and play? Like,
yeah, I'm trying to find. It's funny, like I type in like Canadian wildland fire, and everything's just about the U.S. It's just all about like our cities being affected. I'm like, all right, well, obviously there's people in Canada struggling, so I'd like to see.
Yeah, I'd say Canada probably has it pretty rough right now too.
Probably getting it a little bit worse. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. I see like the live picture of I think it's a Lincoln Memorial. Yeah. Yikes. It's creepy in New York, though. I don't know why it's extra creepy there. It looks like a scene out of Batman, dude. Like, it looks nuts.
It really does. Yeah. And I didn't see anything about it until I was scrolling some IG stories, and I came across Gavin Sheets, because they were in town, obviously, and like the whole team's out on the field, just like taking video of it, kind of. Like, I don't want to say soaking it in, because you don't exactly want to be soaking that in, but they're just kind of taking a look at this Batman-esque scene.
Yeah.
And then immediately you just see all these like major outlets starting to post about it, and different camera angles and different spots around New York, like what is that? Is that the GW Bridge? No, that's DC. What's the bridge there in New York?
Which one?
I think it is the GW Bridge, actually.
Brooklyn Bridge.
It's one of the bridges. Anyway,
cool.
It was like a ghost town, dude. It's just very, very strange.
And I think we know from the last few years that New Yorkers don't do well when having to stay inside.
No,
they don't do a very. I don't think they cope very well with that. So, yeah, dude, it's just weird. Like, baseball never fails to show you something new each year. This is just one of those things where it's like, it doesn't even have to do with baseball, but this is new. I can't remember ever seeing something like this.
I saw not just like not just talking about baseball, but just like as a world. I saw a funny tweet yesterday where it was talking about, it was like seeing these headlines telling you that you can use your mask from the pandemic to protect yourself from the wildfire smoke that's engulfed the East Coast tells you we're in a good time in history.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a crazy time right now. This era will certainly be talked about in the history books. But all that to say, I don't know how many more baseball games are going to get canceled.
I think, we saw the Diamondbacks Nationals already get squashed. Yeah. I can't imagine. The White Sox and Yankees are supposed to have a doubleheader. I don't know. That's scheduled to start in like 3 hours. So who knows? Yeah, because
that's like a 4 p.m., 7 p.m. thing that I saw. Is that right?
Yeah. So who knows about that? And then, I mean, like I don't. If it's that bad in DC, I can't imagine it being better in New York. It's not like it blows over. I think the fire's still going. So who knows, man? Wild. This just pushes for that camp that has been begging for all Major League Baseball teams to have a roof.
No, don't put that out there. We're not going to talk about that.
Pushing for that.
We're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about is the fact that we have a rather lengthy voicemail on deck. It was
Buckle up.
It was a two-parter that I actually had to merge together. So
oh boy.
Buckle up. I don't know what it's about. I just saw that it was a two-parter. I had to merge it, and
I think I have a theory of who it is. I have a prediction.
I don't know.
I won't drop it.
Yeah, I don't know who it's from. I didn't listen to it ahead of time, so we'll see what we got. You know Jack, dude. Okay. Let's try that again. Nate's telling me he can't hear the voicemail. Let's run this back. Oh, so that means I had it on preview. I didn't have it on live, so that means you didn't hear the
I didn't hear the
either?
intro music either. So I was like, all right, we're just hopping right in.
All right.
Freaking hot start here.
All right. Well, let's run that back. Let's see if it works.
What's up, guys? It's
hey. There we go.
Jack here. You're one of your biggest
Cardinal Jack
fans who's a listener. Listening to the episode you guys released on, I think it's like June 5th today.
Sure.
So, they may have turned it around by the time you guys listen to this, but
he sounds defeated.
I just think this team is really lukewarm, and I think that there's just a lack of leadership right now. There's just a massive Yadier Molina hole in this team right now. It's pretty obvious. Then you bring in Albert Pujols last year, who comes in pretty seamlessly and is embraced by the entire team, outside of Ollie Mormel, if you ask me. And then, you have that, you have all that camaraderie last year, even though it wasn't a great result. There's a lot of positive energy, and I think that's something that would have carried over into this year into a pretty damn good team, if you ask me. But having it and then having all those young guys, and then all of a sudden you have these two massive leaders leave, I think the team's just a little lost right now. And then if you add the lack of consistent closing relief pitching and the just complete lack of dependable starting pitching. I mean, guys can't even get to the sixth inning. If you add that in along with the leadership hole, this is not a surprising result so far this season. I think a lot of Cardinals fans could tell you that. I am fully on board with firing Ollie Mormel. I don't think many fans wanted him there in the first place. I think a lot of fans liked Mike Shildt. Mike Shildt had a great rapport with a lot of those young guys. and he was really building something. And he left abruptly, which kind of tells you that there's some drama at the upper levels that we're not privy to.
Privy,
so,
good word.
My stance is, yeah, I mean, at this point, the season, while a little premature to say this, seems like a wash. So, yeah, let's get rid of Ollie because, he's got no personality. He doesn't really seem like he gets along with his guys. He calls them out, which is not an appropriate thing to do in the media. I just don't really think the fans are taking to him either, to be honest with you. So yeah, my stance is, fire Ollie. And, I'm sorry, this is going to be a long voicemail, but sorry, this is the second voicemail because I'm long-winded. Benji Molina said on a radio show recently that Yadier Molina wants a head coaching job next year. So I think Ollie probably feels pretty threatened by that. I think all the fans want Yadier Molina to be our head coach as well. And I would love to see Albert Pujols come back as the hitting coach. I think that spark comes back. And, frankly, fire Ollie right now. Bring Yadier Molina back. The energy's back. The fans are back. The team's back, in my opinion. Bring in some DFA pitchers, see how they do. Build a starting rotation. And see what we can do in the wild card, if you ask me. But I think that it all is contingent upon firing Ollie at this point. So it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but a bad season is us fighting for a wild card. So, I understand I have some privilege, and I'll take it. So anyway, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Old Jack needed some therapy, some 3-0 therapy.
Hey, that's what we're here for. That's what the voicemails are for. A couple quick thoughts real quick. First, I owe an apology to Alex Cora. And you probably wondered, why are you talking about Alex Cora? If I recall, I believe I had, in the early stages, had made a comparison between Ollie Marmol and Alex Cora because from the limited amount of involvement we have seen with Ollie Marmol at that point in time, when I believe I made that comparison. I maybe didn't make this comparison, I'm just in my head, but I think I did.
Sounds right.
But the limited sample size we had at that point in time, I thought, he's still getting his feet wet, but he seems like a player's manager. That's turned out to just completely not be the case. So to Alex Cora, I apologize because you're head and shoulders above Ollie Marmol as a manager. My second quick point is that he mentioned Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols coming back. I'm fine, and we've talked about this before. I'm okay with any former player that holds a relative legend status. I'm okay with him coming back in any capacity except a head coach. You want to bring Albert Pujols back as a hitting coach? I'm cool with it. Yadier Molina, it doesn't matter who it is, you run the risk of that legacy being tainted if they come back and just fall straight into the floor. That's just a reality of it. So I don't know if Cardinals fans want to run that risk, but at this point, anything's got to be better than Ollie. So get Ollie out of there.
Yeah, I think Ollie's got to go. We know that. We've agreed on that. I think what Jack said about the front office is something that's kind of sticking with me, and I think there's a lot of things we don't know. But it's to me like you go back over the years and you talk about the names that they had and the names they've given up. Randy Arozarena being one of them. Just big players, big strange decisions. I don't understand. I'm really lost. Talk about missing leadership. Goldschmidt is obviously one of those lead by example, not a vocal guy. I don't think he's ever going to be a spotlight guy. Nolan, it seems like he can be at times, but it almost has to be when he's going well. Whereas, you have the toughness of a Yachty, the toughness of a catcher that will provide positivity towards the game and somehow, like, obviously the stick wasn't there for the last few years, but like the catching leadership and controlling the rotation, controlling your pitching staff, having that vocal leader, it's like, yeah, that's definitely a missing piece, especially when it seems like it's kind of an eggshell clubhouse. You know what I mean? You're walking on eggshells because your manager is going to call you out at any point.
I mean, it's safe to say there are some fragile egos in that clubhouse.
Yeah. It's just, it's odd to me. I'm really not understanding the Wilson Contreras scenario. Like, you bring him in, you give him all this money, and then you want to full-time DH him, but also sprinkle him in as a catcher. It's just, I just don't understand. There's an identity crisis for sure. And it's throughout the entire organization. So I'm curious to see who's going to get moved. I'm curious to see who's going to be shipped out of there this year. I think I'm about done. I think I'm about done with St. Louis for this year. So
I still believe.
Do you?
I still believe.
I mean, obviously the division isn't anything crazy, and it's something that they can make up for, but I could see them being a somewhat of like a, I think what's going to happen is Ollie gets fired soon.
I
Ollie
said
gets
June
let go.
13th, and that's
Yeah.
next Tuesday. I was pulling up the calendar. That's next Tuesday.
I love it. I think Ollie gets let go soon. You give your team a chance to respond, maybe have a little bit of a wake-up call, find a second wind. We see it all the time. Most recent example, Philly Rob being, replacing Joe Girardi. So you could see something like that happening, but you got to do it at a point where you have enough time as an organization. If you do that around or post trade deadline, then you are kind of stuck, right? So give your team enough time to respond. If not, you're sellers. If they do respond, you hold on to your guys, you add a couple pieces, and you go try to make a run. But you got to give your team enough time. And it's crazy to me. We were shocked about the Mike Schilt firing. It didn't make sense at the time. You hand over the keys of an organization that expects a lot. And like Jack was saying, a bad season is a wild card appearance. So to hand the keys over to a first-time manager, and I don't think you can have this long of a leash. I don't think this guy lasts all year. So got to go and got to make some moves.
A move that the Texas Rangers are making are sending Jacob deGrom to the knife for the second time in his career. Tommy John, fresh off a 5-year, $185 million deal over the offseason, has not pitched since April 28th. The announcement came a day after he was transferred to the 60-day IL. Look, I have really mixed emotions about this. Part of me wants to say, like, I'm not surprised, which I know is not the most polite sentiment at this point in time, because I know he's going through it. I'm sure Rangers fans are going through it, but at a certain point, you had to expect that this was you had to assume that this was a real possibility. But then on the other part of it, as just a guy, like, you feel for him, because we saw the video where he's trying to make sense of everything that had just happened over the last 24 hours, and he was going through it, and you just hate to see that.
Yeah. Especially, I think it's a little bit different when your team is doing something. The Rangers are on something right now. I think earlier than most people expected. So it's and you heard that in the interview where he's like, man, I wish I was out there to help these guys. I wish I was there to be a part of this with my team and produce with my team. And I'm sure there's some guilt behind it. You know, hey, I came in with prior injuries. I signed this mega contract and now I'm, you know, kind of tying one hand behind the Rangers' back. It sucks. It does suck. And I feel bad for baseball fans because it's like, obviously we'd prefer to see him pitching. He absolutely has the stuff to be the best in the game. But like, at what point, man? At what point are we just over it? Just over it. And I don't even want to go into these Mets fans, by the way, that are like, I told you so. I told you so. You're a garbage trash organization. Just stop. Okay? Stop. Don't even tune into this.
The only reason Jacob deGrom is getting emotional this time around is because he realizes that the team he currently is employed by actually has a chance to do something.
Appreciates him.
The reason he just was done with the Mets is because he recognized I could go out there and throw 9 innings of shutout baseball, but my team's going to lose it.
Yeah.
In the 10th.
Yep.
And that was his reality for his time in New York, for his tenure. But now he's here. He's going, I'm currently pitching for one of the best teams in baseball. And now I have to be dealt this decision, this reality for the second time. That's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
Even with his history, Tommy John just it rings a little different when you hear it. This isn't back spasms. This isn't
oblique
hamstring strains. Like this, as a pitcher, that is how you make a living. And for this to be the second time around, you just hate it for him. But yeah, to your point, the Mets fans are just digging themselves a hole. Like,
yeah, shut up. Just shut up.
No, I don't want to talk about them.
Trash. How I wonder how much of a role Nathan Eovaldi is going to play. Not for him stepping into the ace role, and he's doing it seamlessly, but for him to be able to kind of coach deGrom through this, you know? Like, Eovaldi is the blueprint of a 2-time Tommy John. I'm not going to say survivor. That's stupid, but you know what I mean.
Recipient.
Yeah. So to be able to come back and still do his thing and recreate himself in certain ways, and almost be better than he was before. I think he's going to be a big part of deGrom in this recovery process. And yeah, I mean, we're looking at 2025 basically, right? So,
yeah,
crazy.
I mean, with the Eovaldi, you certainly don't want anything internally in that clubhouse to change, because I think if you're the Rangers, you've been going about this the whole time going, we're just going to have to play as if we're not going to have deGrom at any point this year. And they've done a great job. I think they've proven that they're more than capable of holding it down without deGrom. But I would hate for Eovaldi to take the reality of this news and apply that added pressure to himself to try to be somehow better than he already is, because he's already one of the best pitchers in baseball at this point in time based on what he's done. But I would hope for his sake that nothing changes in terms of how he approaches his outings, in terms of how he views himself in that rotation on that team. Because if you try to change too much, if you try to somehow take on the responsibility of being Nathan Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom, you may end up as a nobody by the All-Star break. Nobody's going to be talking about you at that point. But if you can just continue to stay Nathan Eovaldi, and do what you've been doing, you'll be. I genuinely believe that the team will be fine because, like I said, they've proven that they can do without deGrom. As big of a name as that is to lose, the standings reflect their reality right now, and they're just gonna have to figure out a way to keep trucking along.
You ready for a bold prediction?
What do you got?
They're gonna fill this rotation with a name. You ready for that name?
Ooh, it's June 8th, and we're making hot stove predictions.
Yeah.
Who do you got?
Giolito.
Really? You think Giolito likes the change of scenery down in Texas?
A little something new. Like, think of, you've got a rotation of guys that have found like this second wind in their career. You know what I mean? Eovaldi's been good, but Heaney, Martin Perez, bring somebody in that, like, hey, take them under this wing. You had great success earlier in career. You're kind of scuffling a little bit lately. Come on over. Let's teach you some stuff and give you to the world's greatest pitching coach. And boom, you're fixed. He's said to be a free agent next year, right? I think he is.
I believe so. Yeah.
I think he is. So it's just a rental. I doubt it's like a sign in or a trade and extend kind of situation. It's probably just a rental. But like, why not? You know what I mean? White Sox most likely will be out of it. So they're going to, and even if they're not completely out of it, I still think they're going to sell some pieces. I think TA goes. I think Giolito goes. So yeah, I think old Gio is going to be a pretty solid option. What do you think? Not crazy.
No,
super unrealistic.
I think if you're the White Sox, that's probably the most realistic scenario is, again, I've said it every episode for the last month, it seems. I still believe in the White Sox in that division, but I think that's the most likely scenario is
trade a couple.
They still try to make a push in that division, but recognize, hey, we're not necessarily going all in. There's no need to go all in with the way the essentially first half of the season has played out. Let's still give it the old college try, but let's get rid of some pieces that we can set ourselves up for.
Yeah. Get something for them.
Better next year and beyond. But yeah, not a bad thought.
Thanks.
Not a bad thought. A name I know that they're not going to necessarily be interested based on the way this season has gone thus far. Alek Manoah. Can we talk a little bit about Alek Manoah? I do think it's interesting. The first thing I'll say about this, I'm a big believer. How can I phrase this? I'm not a believer in karma. I don't think karma's a real thing.
Okay.
But I do believe
getting humbled.
I believe in reaping what you sow.
Okay.
And I think for Alek Manoah, regardless how much he truly stood behind the Garrett Cole hate, or if that was just something to kind of get himself going or to spice up a little bit of a rivalry that was already there, maybe he's just trying to turn the wheels on it a little bit more. I think it's interesting because I saw a tweet, and I'll give him credit. It's at Bronx BMBRZ, Bronx Bombers. He said, Alek Manoah, since calling Garrett Cole a cheater, which, a whole nother conversation. The whole Garrett Cole cheating thing, that's a whole nother conversation. But the fact that Alek Manoah called him out, since that time, he's had a 1-7 record. He's thrown 58 innings with an ERA of 6.36, 48 strikeouts, and 11 homers allowed. Garrett Cole, since getting called out, 7-0 record, 79 2/3, ERA of 2.82, 84 strikeouts, and only 8 homers allowed. I'm not sitting here on Thursday, June 8th, coming to the fence of the Yankees. I never will. I just think it's interesting. That's all I wanted to say. Because if you haven't heard by now, the whole reason we're talking about Alek Manoah is that he was optioned to the Florida Complex League in an attempt to hit the reset button a little bit and see if he can get back on track. Do we think this happens this year, or do we think that maybe 2023 is a lost cause for Manoah?
I think he'll get back. I think he'll be fine. And that's partially because I traded for him in fantasy. It was a buy low situation. I figured he would turn it around, and he did not. So yeah, I'm gonna stash him. I'm keeping him. I'm just gonna wait it out. I'm gonna see how many starts he gets down there.
I'll trade you Sean Casey for him.
The mayor. Give me the mayor. Yeah, no, I think he'll be all right. I think he does come back. I think there's going to be, because he has that competitive itch. Obviously. He has that competitive itch. So once mechanics get right and the mentality is back and a little bit of confidence, I think he'll be just fine.
No, and I agree with you. He is one of the more competitive people you'll find out there, without a doubt. But where I get concerned is that that's clearly the mechanism that makes him go. That's the approach that makes him go, is calling guys out, letting guys hear it as he's walking off the field after his final inning of the outing.
Yeah.
He did his fair share of that this year, and he has really for the course of his career.
His career, yeah.
It didn't really seem to help this year. Like, it, for some reason, as much as he ran his mouth, the outings just the poor outings rather continue to just pile up. And I get it, you don't want to change who you are, but like, if that's what drives him, if that's what gives him this competitive edge when he goes out there every fifth day, and that's not working, I'll be interested to see what they attempt to fix, like what their approach is around Manoah as an organization, if that's essentially what drives him and that's not working. Like, is there something that they're going to identify mechanically? Is it purely just a confidence thing? Like, is he sitting there going, I mean, I'm trying to let these guys hear it, and I'm trying to just be me, and that's not working, and maybe that's got his confidence down. Like, I don't know.
Time will tell. Time will tell. But I think it'll be all right. I don't think you just randomly lose ace status. And he was working his way up to being an ace. He really was. So I don't think that just goes away. And if there's no injury there, it doesn't just disappear. There's something going on. He'll be fine. He'll figure it out. Give him 2 or 3 starts down there. It's plenty of time. It's the right time of year to make this call. They'll be all right.
It's an interesting conversation to have, though, because, and I want to say it was Danny Vietti on Twitter the other day, threw out a pretty good point where he's talking about how it's really hard in any other sport aside from baseball to have such a fall off from one year to the next. But in baseball, it's not all that, like, it's rather common to have a guy just go off one year and then you're looking around for him the next year and he's nowhere to be found. Not to say that's the case with Alek Manoah, but it is intriguing because, I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking at a 1-7, 6.36.
Yeah.
And they're sending him down to get evaluated. And for the people freaking out, like, I feel like this has been clarified across the baseball world over the last 24 hours enough, but in case you're still wondering, the reason he didn't get sent down to like AAA, people are like, oh, they had to send him down to the complex. Like, no, they do that because of the resources they have available there. The technology, the
right.
The
figure out
charting
spin rate,
systems.
figure out,
right.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
That aren't necessarily accessible at those minor league. Because, I mean, I'm sure we've all been to a minor league facility at one point. They're not exactly state of the art. So,
yeah,
that's the only reason that's happening.
I think he'll be all right, and good for, honestly, good for the Blue Jays organization. I think we typically see these scenarios with like a ghost injury, like a mystery injury that sends him to the IL, ends up being, missing 4 or 5 starts, makes some rehab appearances, and then he's back. I think it's good for them to just be like straight up, he's bad right now. We need to go get him right. So there's no injury behind this. He's just not good. So props to them, because that's what majority of organizations do, and it drives me crazy.
You want to talk about the next Ted Williams?
Yeah, for real, dude. Hello.
I mean, we're sitting here. Like at this point, it's not like a projection. It's not like let's see what he can do. Like we're in June now, and he's still doing it. Like, sure, you can talk about whether or not he'll be sitting at 400 by the end of the year, but in terms of like, what kind of player is Luis Rise? Like, we very well know by this point, not just in this season, but in his career, we know that this is just an elite. And I try not to use that word too often, but he is elite. An elite contact hitter. And
we're over 200 ABs at this point, right? So
yeah, I think it was like I think we're 225 or something like that.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me though, talking about contact hitting, is that you see so many people making the point about, well, you get the nerds on here talking about, well, what are his percentile rankings? Like, what does his exit velo look like? What is his hard hit percentage look like? Does it matter? Does he get on base and put himself in position to score runs to help your team win? Like, we can get into the advanced analytics all we want, and sure, they have their advantages, but at the end of the day, the objective as a hitter is to hit the baseball and to get on base. Luis Arias does that at a clip right now of 403. He does that at a clip of 400 plus. So I'll take that over a Joey Gallo who, can bop him a little bit, but is sub 200 when it comes to getting a hit. Like, that may be an unpopular opinion, but that's just kind of an old school approach or an old school way of looking at it. I have a limit when it comes to these advanced analytics, because at the end of the day, I'm taking in a Luis Arias who he gets on base via the hit 4 times out of 10. What are we even talking about?
You just and I'm not attacking Joey Gallo here, because I don't care enough about Joey Gallo to attack him. But you use the analogy, so I'm just going to go with it. Luis Arias has 11 strikeouts this year. Joey Gallo has 26 hits.
How many walks does Arias have? I think it's up in the 20s.
I think 19.
19?
Just pulled it up. Yeah, 19.
So Luis Arias, who elite contact hitter, has an incredible eye at the plate, has almost as many walks as Gallo has hits. And look, I'm not here. I'm not about the strays to Gallo. We're not here.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like it's an easy comparison because it's opposite ends of the spectrum. So,
right.
But I think the coolest part about this, he's 26. You're going to see this for a while. Bat to ball skills are one of the last things that fade. That's going to stick around for a while.
I need to pause. I realize I just said this and I didn't mean it, but a couple months ago, you pointed out to me that not everybody catches my sarcasm. So I feel like I need to clarify before we get too
except me.
Before we get too deep into this, I'm not saying Luis Arias is the next Ted Williams. Luis Arias will never be Ted Williams. I don't think anybody will ever be Ted Williams ever again. I'm hinting at the fact. Yeah, I'm touching on the fact that we're sitting here approaching the middle of June and he's at 403.
Yeah.
So it's worth talking about. Where do you think he finishes at? I mean, that's kind of what everybody wants to. I'll
give him probably 370s, 360s, somewhere in that range. I'm curious to see. I'm gonna pull up his splits, just see what I see.
If he finishes at 380, that would be the highest full season average in the wild card era. Larry
Really?
Walker hit 379 in 1999. Yeah, I mean,
Let's
the wild
just
card era is
see.
not too deep.
I just want to see like if there's really anything different that he's doing.
If you looking at his splits is one thing, but if you look at his spray chart, like if you're listening and,
I
and
bet
you want to see just a
Yeah.
picture perfect display of what it means to be a professional hitter, pull up Luis Arias's spray chart.
Yeah.
dude.
30% pull rate, 37% up the middle, 31%.
I mean,
oppo.
what are we doing?
That's insane. That's absurd.
And look, I'm not saying every hitter in Major League Baseball is Luis Arias, because if they were, then what he's doing right now wouldn't be special. But don't tell me that it's not possible to make an adjustment at the plate. Like, this goes back to the whole shift banning conversation. Well, it's just you can't tell a professional hitter to spray the ball around the field. Okay, well then tell me why Luis Arias is doing it.
True.
Like, it's certainly possible, albeit not common, but don't tell me that it's impossible, because it is.
It's true. I do agree. And he's seeing everything. He's getting fastballs 50% of the time, but it's what a stud. What a stud. This I think officially allows me to forgive him for last year.
No.
You don't think so?
No, I can't forgive him for last year, and I never will. I don't think I can. It's too painful. It's too hard for me to give this guy credit after the way last year ended. I'm not a fan. I won't say I'll never forgive him, but I'm certainly not going to be one of those people being like, oh yeah, dude, this guy's going to finish at 410 by the end of the season. No.
Yeah.
I'd say I'll give him like I'll give him 370. I'll give him 370, but I'm not going any higher than that. Only because of last year.
He's about his career average for hard hit percentage too. So it's obvious he just has crazy bat control right now. Everything looks to be pretty much normal. Ground ball percentage is slightly higher than what he's used to. So I think that is a bit of the shift, but I'm not going to give him this 403 average solely because of the shift. Dude's working for it. It's fun to watch. I think I saw something 26 or 27 multi-hit games this year.
27, I believe.
So again, just put that in perspective. Joey Gallo has 26 hits.
There you go.
What, dude? Come on.
We're at a point now where, and I'm not making this up, quite literally, if he goes 2 for 5 in a game, that does nothing. That does nothing for him. So just if you're trying to wrap your head around what it means, hit 400, that's what it means. We're talking a lot about hard hit balls, talking a lot about bat and balls. You could make the argument that's a euphemism.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to maybe dive into that a little bit.
All right, let's talk pubes.
Well, we don't need to.
Father's Day is right around the corner, and you haven't gotten your dad anything yet. I haven't. I don't know about you. Don't worry. That's where the sponsors of today's show, Manscaped, comes in. You and I know he needs some serious grooming in his life. So grab your dad the Performance Package 4.0. Go to manscaped.com and use promo code, you already know, 30TAKE. Type it out. THREEOHTAKE for 20% off and free shipping. Don't forget that part. Most people just give you 20% off. We're giving you both. That's 20% off and free shipping. Manscaped.com, promo code 30take. I was telling you the other day, because everyone knows about like the little lawnmower thing that they've got for the boas down south. But I got their beard trimmer. It's actually like really nice. And I started using it on my head because, you know, nothing going on up top anymore. So I started using that. And honestly, it's really solid, dude. Like really high quality. Ball deodorant, use some today. It's really nice during the summer. Keeps the boys smelling nice. So, I mean, I don't know. There's not too many misses going on at Manscaped.
I'm a big advocate of I mentioned it in the group text the other day, the boxer briefs that they have. Dude,
me too.
Those are
delightful.
This is not me blowing smoke. Truly,
yeah.
Some of the most, if not the most comfortable I've ever worn.
I think I've got 4 or 5 pairs. I bought a 3-pack individually.
Incredible. Yeah. Those are on there. Everything Nate talked about's on there. You can get all of that.
Yeah, they've gotten into like a lot of beard stuff too. You can get like beard shampoo, beard conditioner,
beard balms.
Yeah,
oils.
So it's not just like, hey, come trim your balls. It's like we got a lot of stuff going on. So highly recommend looking into it. If it's not for dad, just do it for you. So
it's a total package. Pun intended.
Definitely pun intended.
No, but speaking of packages, they have some great options on there for like, it's like they give you a full on bundle, man. Mm-hmm. They throw everything in there.
The nose trimmer too. The nose trimmer. Also, side note, I found there's one hair that likes to come out of my right ear, so it works for that too.
There you go. So, if that works for Nate, it'll work for you.
Yeah, 30 hits different. My word, there's just hairs coming out of everywhere.
So 20% off plus free shipping.
Big
promo code
right
30take. That's our social handle. Be sure to check it out. Real quick, let's run through some noteworthy performances as of late. Let's start off the top real quick with another Blue Jays arm who's actually throwing it rather well. We're not talking like a 1-7 with a 6.36. Kevin Gausman.
Yep.
His last outing, 7 complete, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 13 Ks, which I believe I read was a tie for his career high, if I'm not mistaken. He is the only pitcher in baseball with 5 11-plus strikeout games this season. I saw a tweet from, I'll give him credit here, Views on the 6. It said Kevin Gausman's 2023 season, he's got a 2.63 ERA, a whip of 1.07, a 6.3 strikeout to walk ratio. Leads the American League in games started, innings pitched, strikeouts, FIP, and Ks per 9. They said, here's where it gets even crazier. He's allowed 8 runs in a start twice this season. Yeah. The other 11 starts, he's had an ERA of 1.09, a whip of 0.92, and a 6.9 K to walk ratio.
Goodness.
And I'm not saying this because I'm a fantasy team. I don't think Kevin Gausman is getting the respect he deserves at this point in the season. Like this isn't
this
just
is
like
a stuff.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't just like we had a good month. Let's call him the pitcher of the month or whatever. Like he is proving that this, as you said, is Cy Young worthy stuff here.
Throwing frisbees too. I love that he's found himself, to be honest. Because he used to just be a power pitcher. He used to just be, here's 99, deal with it. Basically a 2, maybe 3 pitch pitcher. Power changeup. Now it's like everything. And this sinker that he's developed is just gross, dude. We're talking like Roy Halladay movement type stuff. So if you haven't gotten a chance to watch him pitch, I recommend, just locking in and just watch a full start from him. You'll see that this is special. This is exactly what the Blue Jays need. And it's crazy to me that, like, when you talk about Bassett being there, if Manoah gets back to just being close to what he was. Barrios can be close to what he's supposed to be. That's a dangerous rotation. Seems like Kikuchi's kind of started to find himself a little bit too. So, like, yeah. And the Blue Jays haven't even really gone offensively yet. Haven't even really popped off yet.
Collectively,
so,
like
yeah.
you certainly have your standouts, but
yeah,
as a unit,
I think that's crazy. I think the Blue Jays are coming. I really do. I don't think it's going to be held down much longer. So good for old Ghazi.
Talking about holding it down, want to give some love to the Braves bullpen. Not really much to go into here. Just had a note. They've allowed 1 earned run over the past 7 games entering Thursday. So Braves bullpen, nasty as advertised. Speaking of the bullpen, Felix Bautista, want to give some love to him. Dude has been on one. We've talked about him a time or two the past few episodes, but
the mountain.
He has 60 strikeouts over 29 innings pitched, which is more strikeouts than 23 qualified starting pitchers. Goodness. So again, while everybody, including us, was panicking about the moves they made, Jorge Lopez, the moves maybe they didn't make, the Orioles, they knew. They knew. They said, stand by. Michael Wacha.
Waka.
Earned the win on Wednesday. He allowed 2 hits and a walk over 6 scoreless against the Mariners, struck out 7. He is now 4-1 with an incredible 1.05 ERA over his last 7 starts. And by the way, he was the pitcher of the month in May.
Did that hurt you at all, reading that?
No. Same goes with Eovaldi. Like, yeah, it hurts me. Like, oh man, look at what could have been. But I can't be rewriting history here. If you go back, I was more than okay with letting Wacha go. I was more than okay letting Eovaldi go because I wasn't seeing it. And like you said earlier, we're talking about guys that have like found themselves again.
Yeah.
And in Eovaldi's case and possibly Wacha's case are even better than what they used to be. So
yeah.
I can't sit here and pretend like I was clamoring for them to stick around, but wanted to shed some light on that a little bit. Ellie De La Cruz.
Goodness.
Let's talk about the Reds here for just a minute. Hits his first career home run in his second major league game.
A nuke.
Did you see the video?
Nuke.
That was a legitimate nuke. Like the last, 5 rows maybe?
Yeah. It was the hardest hit ball of any Red this year. I saw that.
458 feet. I don't believe that. I don't buy that
either.
For a second.
I don't either. That looks like 475 all day.
That's 143 feet high, dude.
I don't know what's more exciting. That or did you see him run the fastest triple?
Yeah.
This year?
Where was it? It tripled on a curveball in the third. Reached third in 10.83 seconds, the fastest time in the major leagues this season, according to StatCast.
Faster than Lord Farquaad out in Phoenix. So
correct.
I mean, that's real speed. It gives me like O'Neal Cruz vibes, but almost better.
Yep. And I saw somebody make a good point. I forget who it was, but they were talking about how he's just like, he's fell into this role so seamlessly. And he just, even in just a few games, you already feel like he belongs here. And you almost feel like he's been here for a number of seasons at this point. He just blends right in.
It's going too. Like it's got Cincy going. It's got the boys rolling, dude.
Last night they had their second straight walk-off win. Will Benson, who by the way was his first career home run, he became the third Reds player with a walk-off home run for his first career home run. They extend the Dodgers losing streak to 4. The vibes are high.
Yeah.
In Cincy right now.
I like it. I'm here for it. I'm a fan. It's dope, dude.
It's a baseball town, man.
Did you see the home run that he hit? I didn't like read any details. All I saw was the picture that he took, but it was like with a group of kids that were obviously like teenage baseball guys. It looked like it to me.
It was the guy that got the ball.
Right, but he was with a group of all of his buddies.
Yeah, that was like the negotiation. I guess the guy was like, the guy apparently could have gotten a bunch of money for it, but he was just like, no, I want to get a picture with De La Cruz and my boys. And he got him like signed balls and everything. So
sick.
It panned out. It was sick. And he did you see him rounding third after he dapped up the third base coach?
Yeah, give him a
rolls
little
right
after.
like seamlessly right into a dab. I'm like,
this man,
okay, dude,
is
this guy
all over the place.
Oh my goodness, he belongs.
Dripping.
He belongs.
I saw some story. I have no idea where it was. Sorry for not giving credit. There was like this little 2-year-old girl. I don't know if you saw this. There's like this two-year-old girl that was like, she's like struggling with some health stuff, and she went to the hospital, and she's like in the hospital room, and they're watching the Reds game. They're from Ohio, and they're watching the Reds game, and Ellie goes off, and the crowd is chanting Ellie, and her name is Ellie. And so she's 2, and she was like, she thought that all the Reds fans were like chanting for her. I was like, it was just this like kind of like this little sweet thing that's like, you know, when you're a kid, and I'm sure Ellie De La Cruz is probably going to be her favorite player for the rest of her life. So it's cool, man. I love baseball, and I love it for the Reds, dude. That's definitely a baseball city. We saw it at opening day. Like, they're itching for success, and it looks like Jonathan India is kind of doing his thing again. So let's get it rolling. Let's get it rolling in Cincy.
Let's get it rolling. Weekend series to watch, unless you got anything else. Want to get into this?
Yeah, my last thing before we get into this, Peter Alonso is a 12-year-old in a man's body.
Oh, yeah, dude, how did we not talk about this?
Go ahead and toss that in, please.
So, Alonso hits a bomb off Bryce Elder. I'm so glad you reminded me of this, because I was just sitting on this for the last couple of days. So, Pete Alonso hits a bomb off Bryce Elder, comes back, he's chirping Bryce Elder. Oh, throw it again, throw it again, throw it again. Was it not in the same game that Jeff McNeil dropped the ball trying to get it to the infield like 3 times, which that's just baseball poetry. I don't care how you feel about Peter Alonso. I don't care how you feel about the Mets. That's just baseball poetry. And then they go on, was it that night or the next day the Braves walked him off?
Next day.
The next day. Just come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, when are you going to have some self-awareness?
Seriously.
I tell Meredith this all the time. One of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm probably not the greatest when it comes to this, but in my fallen state, my biggest pet peeve is when people lack self-awareness. And it always seems to come out when you go to Costco. When you're trying to get to where you're going, place is packed and people are just stopping in the middle of the aisle to send a text real quick or just, gazing upon the shelves. But Peter Alonso, taking it into a baseball sense, just no self-awareness. I'm all for being yourself, but at a certain point, you have to recognize that being yourself just never works out. You always get in trouble.
When has that ever been a thing? When have you ever seen that at the major league? Throw it again, please. Throw it again. I would yell at my kid if I was coaching a 12U team. If that got chirped out, I'd be like, dude, you're done. Sit down. It's absurd that this guy does this all the time. And then his ridiculous post-game interview. Did you see the post-game interview?
Oh, I didn't. Anytime Peter Alonso comes up on my screen, I just kind of tune out. But what did he say?
Post-game interview, he was like, it's just a heat of competition. If you were to put a hot mic in all the dugouts, you'd hear this stuff all the time. I didn't mean anything by it. it was just the heat of competition. Like, dude, you're
That might be true, but nobody else on a hot mic would sound like such a tryhard like you do. It's that simple. Like,
it's very simple.
It's such a forced persona. It's nauseating.
You're not tough. You're not tough.
You're like, to bring back that TikTok or whatever, you're not that guy, pal. Like, you're just not that guy. And I think Mets fans see it. I bet you his own teammates see it. They're like, oh God, this guy again. Because for those who played, we all had that guy where they're just running their mouths. They're like, okay. Even on this summer league team I played on a couple years ago, last year, I think there was a guy on my team where he would just start chirping the other team. And it's a Sunday league where the ump's getting paid like $10 a game. And he's like chirping the other team. I'm like, dude, like, stop. Half of those guys on that team have like multiple children. I don't think any of them really care. No. And it's kind of the same thing here, where it's like, you're not proving any point because people know who you, like, they know the kind of guy you are. Like, you're not getting anybody charged up in the sense of like, oh, what did Pete just say? They're probably laughing it off. I bet you everybody in the Braves dugout's going, okay, here goes freaking Peter again.
Freaking man child.
I can't
shut
deal with it anymore.
up. Just shut up. Please.
I can't deal with it anymore. What a clown. All right, weekend series to watch. Now we got that out of our system.
3 or 4 consecutive episodes of us talking noise on Peter. I love it.
Well, I mean, when you're I'm going to choose my words carefully here. When you're Peter Alonso and you do the things you do, it's going to get talked about. And hopefully it gets talked about enough to the point where it kind of goes away and he just kind of fades off and just kind of is
It
quiet
bugs me
again.
that he hits so many home runs.
Like, serious question. Has Max Muncy, like, Dodgers fans, I'd be curious to know, like, has Max Muncy kind of faded into the, not in terms of performance, but just kind of like running his mouth? Because there for a bit, I feel like he was
Here's my thing about that.
More than not.
I don't remember too much outside of the response to Mad Bum. And now that the years have passed of us, Mad Bum just being butthurt about everything that happened to him, it kind of makes sense for him to clap back that way.
Sure.
So, but outside of that, I haven't seen anything. Obviously, I don't watch the Dodgers every day,
right.
So I don't know if maybe he's drawn it back a little bit. But like, Peter, dude, you're just a freaking weenie. You're just a weenie.
Every time I hear his name, I go back to those corny commercials that the team made with Donnie Diesel or whatever.
Yeah.
That was peak corniness for me. All right, weekend series to watch. We got to run through these real quick. I'll let you start us off because you wanted to add a little feature to our weekend series, a little fantasy twist.
Yeah.
I'll let you start us off.
Yeah, a little weekend matchup that, although I think mine's going to be a lot more boring than yours. So, yeah, it's probably a good thing I'm starting. Let's talk fantasy with the weekend matchup. Why not? Things to watch. So, I'm taking first time of the year, Red Sox playing against the Yankees in New York. The reason mine's a little boring is because the Yankees rotation is just... It's just puzzle pieces at this point, so it's all TBD. So everything I have for you pitching wise is all Red Sox stuff. Garrett Whitlock supposed to go Friday, barring any of this Canadian smoke. So far this year, I think you can speak to it better than I can, but Garrett Whitlock has been 5 starts so far this year. His last one out was on June 3rd against Tampa. Resulted in 3 fantasy points. He went 4 2/3, gave up 4. He has 32 points in fantasy for this year. He's only rostered in 8.8% of leagues. So it seems like
this is all according to our league setup. So
yeah,
it'll vary league to league.
Yeah, it'll vary a little bit, but
the point remains been pedestrian.
Yeah, to say the least. Tanner Houck, I didn't realize he's back in the rotation. So, is the flip-flopping just continues?
Both guys that should be in the bullpen, but
okay,
because we did nothing in the offseason And when I say nothing, I mean nothing, because you can say, well,
Literally nothing.
What about Corey Kluber? What about
Who?
bringing back James
No.
Paxton?
No.
While some maybe had their moments at times,
Yeah.
that's not it. That's not
gonna
the
cut
fix.
Jenner Houck in 11 starts this year. He has 79 points on the year. His last time out against Tampa was on the 4th, 2 points. Gave up 4 in 5 innings. Walked 4, struck out 6. Rostered in only 5% of leagues. And then Bayo is going on Sunday. Is it Bayo? Bello? Bayo. Brian Bayo going on Sunday. 9 starts this year. Has 75 points. He's averaging 8.3 starts, or 8.3 points per start, which is basically what he had his last time out against Tampa, 8 points. So I think there's probably a little something there, right? I feel like Red Sox fans there's somewhat of a promising future for him. Ish. Kinda.
I'm not super high on him, but I'm also not gonna just totally write the guy off. He's still got time, but
yeah. On the offensive side, I grabbed just a couple guys to pay attention to. Look, I don't get it. Yoshida needs a lot more love than what he's been receiving, and maybe it's just because he's playing for a team that's struggling. But I mean, he's hitting .318 this year, 7 home runs, 33 RBIs. His last week is he's 9 for 28. So he's just like you just roll him out there, and I think he's gonna hit 310, 315 every month, without a doubt. Crazy bat to ball skills. He's got 174 points in fantasy this year. He is the number 3 ranked outfielder in fantasy. So he's listed as outfield. He doesn't have a specific left field, center field, right field, but ranked 3rd. He's averaging 3.2 points per game. On the other hand, I'm going to be honest with you. I had no idea who to choose for the Yankees. I'm lost. I don't even know how they're winning baseball games. I genuinely have no idea. The lineup is brutal. I think Willie Calhoun is going to hit 4th for the next week or so while Judge is out. I don't understand how this is happening. I chose Rizzo because he's having somewhat of a good year. He's hitting .289. He's got 11 jacks. Most are short port jacks, but whatever. But this last week has just been painful. He's 1 for 14, 6 Ks, 2 walks. He does have 129 points in fantasy this year. He's ranked 12th as first baseman goes. So someone's got to step up. I think this guy needs to be the guy that steps up in Judge's absence.
So it was presented to us that we should entertain the idea of putting a wager on this series.
I don't want to.
I just want to say, before we even decide that, I just want to say, I'm glad to know you feel that way, because I just don't know if I have the energy for it. Like I even said, I was like, this would be great, kind of get the Sox juices flowing again, because I just need something to get me going.
Yeah.
I tried the last day or two to kind of get myself in that frame of mind. I couldn't, dude. The more I think about it, with each day that passes, with each game that's played, I just can't help but, I can't shake the way I felt about the team on opening day, and really going back to like January, where I'm just like, this is not the product that had to be on the field this year. You could have done so much better than what's currently out there. And so I'm not going to sit here and waste my time overly investing myself in a team that didn't have to be in this situation. Look, people can point to the record all they want. 500 is not going to cut it in the American League East. And you knew that. Heim, ownership, you can sit there and say, well, it's because we play in the American League East. Otherwise, we're doing okay, though. You don't play in a division outside of the American League East. You knew what was going to happen in the division this year, because it happened seemingly every year. So don't try to again convinced us that this is a product worth watching, because it's not. I mean, you even got the guy that you
ugly baseball.
The guy you paid 300 plus, Rafael Devers. He's not exactly pulling his 300 plus weight. I don't mean literal weight. I'm saying he's not pulling the weight of his contract at this particular point in time.
Yeah.
The defense, as we've talked about, and even since the last time we talked about it, has been absolutely awful. T-ball level.
What was that toss to Cassis yesterday? Did you see that?
I don't.
It was like a 6-foot toss from the second baseman to Cassis, stretches, and the ball is 1.5 feet above his glove. I don't understand.
I was told Cassis was going to be a problem. Well, doesn't really seem to be the case. I told Kike was going to be perfectly okay at shortstop. He's last I checked, he leads baseball in errors. Where else do we go? We already talked last time about how 2 of the starting pitchers that were in the rotation on opening day are now in the bullpen. Where else?
2 bullpen guys are now in the starting rotation.
Like Alex Verdugo he's had his moments this year for sure. He's been one of the more talked about names without a doubt on that team, but collectively just as mediocre as mediocre can get. And it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. All that to say, I don't really know. Do we just want to
we can do something if you want. I genuinely feel like the Red Sox have an edge this weekend, but
I certainly don't. I don't.
We could do something. Do you want to take the Yankees? I'll take the Red Sox.
The Yankees. Yeah, maybe that'll get the juices flowing a little bit. I'll pull for the Yankees this weekend. See if that'll do something for me, because I feel I am lifeless when it comes to the Red Sox right now. Just nothing. I'll give the Yankees the edge because they've had to battle through.
I don't know. Everyone is hurt. Everyone.
No. I was gonna say they've just had to battle through like apocalypse type stuff up there. Like there's some hardened vets right now. So maybe I'll give them the edge this weekend because Yankees have been playing like some rag dolls. All I have to say, maybe a gentleman's agreement that we postpone this to a later date. I just don't. I'm sorry. I just don't have the juice for it right now.
I'm down to save it.
Let's punt.
Yeah.
Let's punt.
Just bad. It's just bad baseball on both sides. So we'll see.
With that said, let me run through my series.
I love your series.
Little shout out to Nate. I was a little busy with work, so he ran the numbers for me here. Actually, I'll just you can run through it. I'll just let you run through it.
You want me to run through it?
Yeah, feel free to run through it.
All right. Well,
you did the work. I'll let you shine with it.
Heck of a matchup. Rangers in Tampa. I love what we're seeing pitching wise. Every game is going to have something to watch. You got Heaney going game 1 against Glass now. Heaney in 11 starts this year. Got 111 points in fantasy, averaging 10 points a start. Last time out was a little shaky. Actually rocked a -5 point loss against Seattle. I don't know what happened to that. I wasn't watching. I don't know if there was some type of injury or maybe it was a quick hook, but 3 earned runs in 3 innings. So nothing great there. But overall, I mean, I think Heaney's still been solid fantasy-wise. Glass now going game 1, like I said. Just 2 starts. This will be his 3rd start this year. Had 13 points against Boston last week in fantasy. Only gave up 1 earned run in 5 1/3. So 3 walks though. So I think, he's still figuring stuff out. He's still getting ramped up. So I think he's slowly getting back to what we're used to. Nathan Eovaldi going game 2 for Texas. Just continuing his stud performance in 2023. 26-point outing against Seattle last week. 6 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, 7 Ks. He is averaging 17.9 points per start. He is the number 2 ranked starting pitcher in fantasy with 215 points so far. He's going up against Taj Bradley for Tampa. In 7 starts for Taj, doing all right, I'd say. He's averaging 12.6 points per start. Last time out against Boston, got 10 points. Typical stuff, 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 Ks. So pretty decent. It just seems like the Rays can roll out whatever name and you're going to get an okay performance no matter what. So it's kind of annoying. Martin Perez going game 3 for the Rangers. In 12 starts this year, he's got 105 points. He's averaging 8.8 points per start. So really hot start, but I think he's kind of fizzled off and come back down to earth a little bit. Although his last start was pretty solid against St. Louis, 22 points, went 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs. And then we've got the stud of all studs, Shane McClanahan, going for the Rays, game 3. In 13 starts this year, he is rocking 209 points. That's an average of 16 points per game. He is ranked the number 4th. He's ranked the 4th starting pitcher in fantasy. So, just studs on top of studs going each game. Definitely a great pick. Definitely a great pick. I would watch that one all day. My 2 guys that I want to watch offensively are 2 guys that it's just hard to look away from the TV when they're up. Marcus Semien, as we know, is just on a tear this year. He's hitting 299, 9 jacks. He's got 50 RBIs and he's got 56 runs already. Dude is having himself a year, averaging 3.7 points per game. He has 224 points in 2023. That is number 1 amongst all second basemen. He is the number 1 second baseman in fantasy. This past week or so, still doing his thing. He's got 4 doubles, 7 runs, 6 RBIs, only 2 strikeouts. So just doing typical stuff. Wander Franco. Chose him because why not? He's the number 1 ranked shortstop in fantasy. Hitting 308 this year, 7 jacks, 38 runs, 29 RBIs. Hang on, did I write that correctly? Does he have 21 stolen bases? That couldn't have been right.
You keep going. I'll look it up.
Sheesh. Same thing this past week. Just been doing his thing. 7 for 16, 4 doubles, 3 runs, 2 walks, 2 Ks. So you're seeing guys with bat to ball skills. You're seeing guys that are leading the league in many ways. And it's just really fun to watch.
Confirmed. 21 stolen bases.
Goodness, dude. Goodness. Wander's the real deal.
Is that all we got?
That's all we got. Heck of a matchup, though. That'd be the one don't even listen to mine. I just chose that one because it's the first matchup of the year, and I kind of regret choosing it now. So I would watch the other one.
Yeah, just pretend we didn't even talk about that,
yeah.
And just go watch the Rangers and Rays.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nate for doing all that digging.
Yeah, I'm trying to get. Look, I don't care about the people complaining about fantasy. I think most of us that are partaking in this podcast, whether you're talking or listening, like fantasy. You play fantasy baseball. So, sorry, we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're going to get into certain things at different times, but I think this is a pretty easy way to do it. Yeah, I think this is an easy way to do it, though. Talk about our matchups and stuff to watch and players you should look out for. We're going to try to introduce some different things with fantasy.
Some waiver pickup guys.
Yeah, so it's going to be here. It's here to stay. If you don't like it, I don't really care.
Unless you got anything else, that's all I got. Have a great weekend. We will see you guys next week. Enjoy some baseball.
Curveballs in those smoke, man. You got smoke all over the place. Keep the eyes clear. Don't go chasing any curveballs.
We love y'all, and as always, looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.